Hello, my name is Jose Casella, and right now we're going to be talking about lenses. Now, lenses make the director, lenses make the DP, lenses make the filmmaker, okay? We're living right now in a time that is quite interesting. We're living in a time in which they're throwing at us, they're bombarding us with camera models. Oh, you gotta get this camera, oh, you gotta get that camera, you gotta get the scarlet, you gotta get the red, you gotta get the pink, the purple, the banana, whatever. All this kind of stuff is going on. And it's pretty much well known in the industry that it's not the camera, it's the person behind the camera. It's a very simple concept. A director needs to know lenses. If you have a great actor, let's say you have Meryl Streep, you have Robert De Niro, you have a big actor, where are you going to place this actor? Okay, how are you going to convey that line that he's saying? He might be very emotional, saying something very specific, and you want the audience to really pay attention. So which lens is it going to be? The moment you give that choice to the DP, pretty much it's his movie now. So you have to be very careful as a director when it comes to this kind of stuff. And the choosing of the lens is very tricky because it's an emotional impact. If I'm talking to you with a really tight lens in the blur background, then you are most likely, unless you're extremely bored, you're probably gonna be listening. I mean, you have no choice. You're gonna be really listening to what I'm saying because it's just my big fat face on the screen talking and the background is out of focus. So that's kind of like a long lens effect, a zoom lens, like a zoomed in all the way, like a long lens. Now, if I'm on a wider lens, for example, I'll be able to see this entire room and perhaps what I'm saying will not register. The best directors, people like Scorsese, even people like Tarantino, people like Hitchcock, people like that, they knew what lens to use at a particular time. It all comes something like this. What I have in my hands over here is a little kit, a lens kit. I'm gonna take out a few. Some of the basic ones. In general, they kind of go like this. I have an 18mm lens, okay? These are Arriflex lenses, okay? And what can I do with an 18? I'm faced with all these choices. What can I do with something like this? Now, think of movies like The Shining, like A Clockwork Orange. Okay, that's Stanley Kubrick. That's an 18mm lens. I mean, that's 18, 12mm. This is a guy who used to shoot like wide lenses, big, shows the entire canvas of the stage. The smaller the number, basically, the smaller, when I say 18, the smaller the number, it means it wider, okay? When it's the 18mm, it's wider, 12mm, wider, even 8mm, wider, more like fisheye. You're seeing more of the set. There's less ways to hide, much less ways to hide, okay? It's a pretty ballsy lens in many ways. If you see films like Citizen Kane, for example, too, you see everything, deep focus. Terry Gilliam is another good example that I can give you. These are all recommendations, you know. You must watch his films. I mean, Terry Gilliam is a good example in the case of films like Brazil, okay, films like Time Bandits. I mean, these are all examples of an 18mm lens, 12mm. Hell, even for the fans of horror films like Sam Raimi, the early films like Evil Dead and things like that, there was a lot of wide lenses going on in that thing. Then we have other things like, we got a 25, it keeps growing. You can go, you know, the next one in this kit will be the 25mm. That's just a little tighter, okay? Then you have like the all-purpose 50mm. 50 is basically like, kind of like the human eye sees, you know? It's very interesting, kind of middle of the ground kind of lens. A good example of something like this will be David Cronenberg, will be Martin Scorsese, you know, especially Martin Scorsese. And then you have something like the long lenses, which is a lot of times used on like action films, epic film. I mean, like Michael Bay type kind of films, Ridley Scott type of films. I mean, it's actually a good example. Ridley Scott, lots of long lenses all the time. Now, does it mean this have to be only used on long, on like action films? No, but this is the look of an 85mm lens, and it keeps growing. It gets to 100mm, gets even higher. You can get to 300mm lenses. I mean, it's an interesting situation. It's which one to use. The point here is, you have an important line that needs to be said in the film, an idea that needs to be conveyed. Which one are you going to use? Unfortunately, right now we live in a Vimeo pretty world, which is basically, I'm just gonna grab this little camera and, you know, oh, it looks cool, and that's it. You shoot it and that's it. It's mindless. There's no thought behind it. You have to understand what each lens does, okay? Will an 85mm lens be great for me at this moment to express this idea? It's important to understand that directors need to understand this too. You don't want to have a director who sits on his butt and just says action. You have to be involved. Yes, you have to deal with the actors, but you also have to understand how to frame this up. Okay? It's your film. You're the orchestra director. You need to be involved with that.